Good morning. In this video I will show you how I made the old Australian farmhouse and water tank using the wax from Babybel cheese. These are my two entries into the Babybel Wax Challenge. The smoke effect is my very clever husband's idea. That's him in the background burning our cardboard. This is my plan. I used graph paper to keep everything to scale. I thought I bought 3 different coloured Babybels, but turns out the black is just the cellophane wrapper. I kept the wrappers in case I needed them for my build, then I removed the baking paper strips from all the centre pieces. Every little bit of wax helps. Here I am coming up with an orange colour. I ended up being happy with the 8 parts yellow to 1 part red ratio, but in the end I thought keeping to the traditional Babybel colours would have a better impact. The wax gets very tacky when you start to condition it, so I used baking paper as much as possible to prevent it from sticking to everything. Starting with the door, using a glass jar as a roller, it stuck to that too, so I'm using baking paper on top as well. Macaroni and cheese break. I kept heating it up in my hands and rolling it out. Changed my roller size and I'm using playing cards on either side to keep a consistent thickness. Traced around my door template, rolled out thin strips for the door details, carefully placed them on and cut out the door. The front wall, placed on my template and traced around it. Cut it out. That was a bit messy. Define the cladding. I decided the door should be set back further, so I dug out a spot for it, then framed the door. For the windows, I dug those down a little as well and rolled out thin pieces for the smaller sections and cut 3mm wide strips for the thicker sections of the windows. Cutting the corners at 45 degrees, because they should be. The back wall. This time I laid baking paper under the graph paper to prevent that from sticking. Traced on the details, then added all the thin yellow pieces and all the large yellow pieces. Front and back walls are done. Moving on to the side with the larger window and awning. Same steps as before, just a little bit bigger of a window. I've got my plan for the awning brackets. These lengths are 3mm by 3mm. Cut to size, check the fit and make another. Figured out an awning size, traced onto a sheet of the yellow and scored in the corrugations. Place on top of the brackets and that side is done. Now for the other side. This is my plan for the fireplace. I'm going to thicken this up a bit with a couple of extra layers. That's my practice run for creating the stones, adding those to the fireplace and adding a lot more. I now have all 4 sides of the house. The corrugated iron roof. Mark and cut out the size, score on the corrugations. Now for the posts. For these I should have gone simple, but I got there in the end. The hardest part was getting them all to end up the same length. And great, this footage is out of focus. I pre-made all the little pieces first, then stacked them on top of each other. Don't look too close, they didn't turn out as nice as I was hoping. Now for the bullnose veranda. Trace and cut out the size, score in the corrugations. I'm using this aluminium tube to help form the bullnosed shape. For the base, I wrapped a piece of cardboard in a paper shopping bag, figured out where I wanted the house to be located, and now it's time to assemble. Using lengths of wax blended to the base to help keep the walls standing, adding a few extra internal supports. Balancing the posts and carefully adding the bullnose. I used some of that orange that I didn't use earlier to help hold the roof up. One side of the roof on, then the other. The veranda is sagging a bit, and although that is a common sight with old Australian farmhouses, I wanted to fix that up a bit, so I added some thicker lintels above the 2 windows and door to rest the veranda roof on. That's it for the house. I then moved on to my second entry, the water tank. I cut out the middle circle on the Babybel wrapper to help me figure out a size for the tank. Yep, I am happy with that. Trace and cut out, score in the corrugations, add the Babybel logo, and shape into a cylinder. Trace around the edge to add a top for the tank. Mark and cut out the base of the tank, add texture for a bit of wood grain, cutting out the logs, trimming the top and bottom at an angle, figuring out the shape I need, texturing with a needle tool, adding the top beam, indenting to create the look of nail heads, middle beam overhanging on either side, and make another. Attach to the underside of the tank base, adding support planks for the other 2 sides, creating the nail heads, flip over, put the water tank on top, and it's done. If you made it this far into the video, then thank you so much for sticking around. You guys are the ones that give me the encouragement to keep making more videos. And just a reminder that videos often make things look easier than they actually were. If you're struggling with a project and it keeps falling apart on you, that is totally normal. I had multiple issues with creating this wax sculpture and it took me a lot longer than I thought it would. Keep pushing through and know that you are not alone.